Missing. I'm good, right? Yes.
Good. Thank you. Okay, welcome everyone to our Tuesday, February 10th, 2026 Audit Facilities and Operations Committee meeting. We will begin with public comment. Anybody from the public wish to address the committee?
Not right now, thank you. I do have just a quick, it wasn't on the agenda, but in the past, before, probably about a year before this year, the AFP committee was a little bit different. And one of the things that you guys presented on a monthly basis was a summary of legal billing. And it's of note because it's a large expense that's within the budget. And I also noticed that on the year over year from last year, it was definitely way over budget. So I was wondering if you guys were considering bringing that back to this meeting. If not, if you could, because I think it's a very large chunk that I think is worth monitoring and just keeping an eye on.
Sure, we can put it on our next meeting agenda in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And certainly.
Okay, with public comment concluded, we will move to our first item of business, which is we'll welcome our district architects to our meeting. Thank you
Hey,
for
guys.
joining us.
Travis Schnell with KG&D Architects.
And
Do we want Travis to be on camera in some way?
sure,
Yes.
Yeah, we're checking here. So Travis,
turn it over to you, Mr. Silver.
thank you. So we have a proposal from our district architect, KG&D. Travis, just so you know, is a resident of the community. And he is going to be presenting again our site plan for the renovation of the site work at the transportation facility. Now, we have a proposal from them, which we are considering to do the project work prior to the vote of the public. This money, we have $3.2 million in a reserve fund for capital projects. We estimate that this project will cost about $2.25 million for the construction cost of the project. And Travis is here tonight to talk about what we're going to be looking at. And this reserve fund, although it exists and is tax neutral, requires the public to vote to use the money. So should the board approve this, we are trying to get approval on February 24th to proceed. That will give the architects only less than 90 days to get this all together, to get on the budget vote, the voting on May 19th. So time is now of the essence for this. We have looked at this multiple meetings and we want to try to get all the questions answered and be able to move forward. So this requires a vote. It'll be a separate proposition on the vote. It won't be attached to the budget, won't be attached to board members. It'll stand on its own as a vote up or down to use about $2.25 million of the $3.2 million to upgrade the transportation site facility. Okay, Travis?
Just say that that's a rough budget number right now. That's why we are doing this preliminary study to hone in on that number so we have a better idea of what it is before we go, with the pre-referendum for that. So these are pre-referendum services. That means it's not full design services. It's just there's a lot of upfront work that needs to be done from a site plan point of view because of the area we're affecting and the stormwater involvement and potential DEP and DEC land impacts, that we have to do that upfront work to get a better idea of the cost. And so you guys know how to plan for the next phase of the project. So to give you an overview, right now the issue with, that's not gonna get on camera, but
How about we can turn the camera just to this
Yeah.
gentleman?
Turn it some more, Travis.
but this area is showing the rough area of the parking lot modified to fit the buses that you require to be parked there. And so right now you need about, spaces for 100 to 110 buses, split between large buses and mini buses. So you got the M's here representing the double parked minis, and then you've got the regular sized buses. And they don't all fit right now on the site. There's poor circulation flow, which aids in, the time it takes to move these buses in and out. The majority of the lot is either not paved or poorly paved, which is causing further delays, especially when you have ice and incidents and you can't treat the soil like you can treat blacktop. And it causes additional deterioration, quicker deterioration to the undersides of the buses when they're parked on the soil. So really, this whole plan is to fix this area, to make it more efficient for the bus parking, to pave it, and to expand it a little bit. Look to expand as much as we can here within our boundaries, screen the property from neighbors, put up fencing and landscaping, and make it just more useful for you guys to function. So because we are potentially adjacent to DEC and DEP, and because we are paving and expanding the area in such a large area, it triggers stormwater impact. So we have to do a SWIP study, and we have to, our civil engineer has to determine, review with DEC and DEP where their jurisdiction is, are there adjacent wetlands? And we don't have good current survey information, so part of this fee is also doing a revised topographic survey. So we understood the proposal was just a lump sum upfront. That we broke that down to hopefully make it more clear in the work that we need to perform. And so we've outlined that between meetings, survey, conceptual design, the SWIP report, the stormwater pollution prevention plan, cost estimate, and board presentation. And then those items are broken down on the fee side. Through that briefly, the interim meetings, so those would be meetings with staff to understand exactly what we have to do. There'd be a couple of coordination meetings involved as we're going through that process to make sure we're all on the same page. The survey is just a topographic survey. So we're going to use some existing information we have, but Insight is going to go out and do the balance of that work to get the survey together.
Travis, excuse me, I just want to say that Insight Engineering, the engineering firm that's a part of this, is also a resident of this community. And in fact, their main office is directly across from the transportation facility, just by coincidence. And the chief engineer there,
the principal.
The principal, his father was a principal at Kent Elementary School for 27 years.
That's right.
So he has roots in this community as well.
Many such coincidences in our district.
Yeah, I think he's got a bench dedicated to him out front, right?
That's
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
yes.
So then the conceptual design, once we have the survey, go through the conceptual design. And that's when the civil engineer starts working with DEC to determine if we're affecting their adjacent lands and wetlands. They have to file what's called a jurisdiction determination, which takes time. And so our civil engineer is going to put together as part of this conceptual plan, a more detailed conceptual site plan that includes more specific layout, grading information, storm drainage, stormwater treatment, landscaping, and screening that we can then use to establish an estimate. So for this particular project, there is more upfront civil work that has to be done because of the stormwater impact, because of the agencies that we have to coordinate with to better hone in on what that cost estimate is.
Now, when you say upfront work, we understand that if going through this survey, getting approval, getting a bond passed, there would then be a significant additional work to actually turn this actionable.
Yeah, you still have to go through, design, development, construction documents for bid. This is not going to have all the details. This is just what we, it's probably a little beyond conceptual design. It gets into schematic design a bit for this engineering that they have to do. Usually early on, we don't do heavy on the engineering, but when they're site-focused projects like this that need that detail, we'll do a little more on the front end of things. Yes, there's still a significant amount of work to do to get it bid ready for contractors.
So this also has to go to the state for approval before we can go out for bid. And it is state aidable at around 60 or 61 or 62%, our state aid rate, whatever it happens to be at that moment, and would be paid back over 15 years as would go ahead.
Well, part of the conceptual plan is to see to get it aidable, you need it to tie it into work within the building so you can get aid for it. So part of the conceptual plan will be working with the administration on what minor projects we can touch within the building to get us to an aidable project.
So we know that that's somewhere in the vicinity of $10,000 has to be done inside the building. And Mark has been talking about doing some doors at Kent Elementary School since it's the same property. So we don't have to, we're not doing anything on the transportation offices. It'll be in the elementary school where we will spend a small amount of money to make this aidable.
Now, one thing that came up in the support staff liaison meeting is in the existing transportation arrangement, often there's a fairly large amount, or at least an impression among the staff that there's a large amount of fumes making their way into the Kent Elementary building.
So I believe that's old. I believe since we moved the buses, the big buses away from there, this is several months ago.
Right, so looking at this plan, are we considering the impact on that of this
Well,
arrangement, this
right.
plot
I think
arrangement?
that was the intent of trying to landscape some of this area and get the buses off
Yeah.
the side of the building.
Yep.
And also not to impact any existing outdoor play space,
Yeah,
right? That's important, so there's a zero impact.
yeah, we're trying
on
not to
spaces,
affect
right.
Yeah.
this plane.
No, I saw that from the beginning, and that
Yeah.
makes sense. So I'm wondering if that might be a sensible place to direct some of the 10,000 that we're looking to spend in building on either HVAC or other improvements that would.
That's fair, and
After
that's actually why it's one of the bullet points in the conceptual design was to, you know, maybe they're thinking about doors, but initially we were talking about HVAC work. The challenge with the HVAC work is the cost. And because I know we are limited on funds and we want to get this project done, we'll just have to see if it's within the funds. And that's what this conceptual phase will help us determine, you know, what the cost of this is and how much left we have to do something inside. And ideally, yes, maybe
Well, I
it's an
mean,
upgrade to the HVAC.
I don't like to talk about it as amount left, because if we have amount left, we ask for too much from the taxpayer.
Sure.
But I think it does make sense when we talk about the aidable amount, where if we couple this with a certain amount of in-building spend, then we get more aid back, and thus it pays, that in-building spend pays for itself. I think
Yep.
that makes sense. I just want to be very
Totally.
careful about the phrasing, especially
Good
given
point.
the public
So remember, this is not a
concern around
bond.
transportation
This is
projects
not
in the past.
This is not a bond. You used the word bond a minute ago. So this is not a bond. This is existing money. There's no
Understood.
effect on the taxpayers regardless of how much of it
Well,
we use.
We
So-
say, we say no effect on the taxpayer, and that's strictly true in the sense that if we don't do anything else, but money is fungible. We might have other emergency facilities work that needs to be done, that now we would end up paying for out of taxpayer funds or out of the bond because we no longer have the reserve. So I think this is there's a good case for spending the reserve on this, but I'm always worried about doing things taxpayer neutral when, you know, it's like saying spending your birthday money is allowance neutral. It is until the next time you want to buy something.
That's a good point.
Could you speak a little bit to the cost estimate component of the fee and the board presentation component of the fee?
Yeah, the cost estimate, we do a itemized cost estimate once we have our conceptual plan and we know what the scope is.
Mhm.
And you'll get kind of, it's not as detailed as maybe what a design development or a construction document estimate would be, but you'll get a line by line estimate for the materials used, you know, that'll be factoring in markup costs for the contractor. So yeah, it'll be an itemized list of what's involved on the project. And that, you know, there's time involved to put that together. Yeah.
And the board presentation?
The board presentation is because we assume that we would, you know, have to go in front of the board and present this to them. If we don't, you know, we don't have to do that portion. But typically, at least when we're getting ready for a bond vote, we do make a presentation
Mhm.
to the board. So it's up to you guys if you guys need that or not.
I guess it's surprising to me to see that separately itemed. I mean, we're here tonight, you're presenting something. Are we paying a line item for this or?
No,
No. Right, so then the question is, this is a project which is substantial even without the 2,500 for the board presentation.
Mhm.
If the presentation goes well, we hope to sell substantially more work for you guys in
Sure,
the future.
of course.
So I'm not sure that makes sense as a line item of itself.
Okay,
Maybe, yeah,
you know, we were just trying to
No, I
break this
understand.
down for you.
understood.
Point taken.
Thank you.
Could either of you gentlemen go a little bit into the 2.25 million and how you see that being broken down with this project, where the bulk of that money would be?
You know, that is a rough square footage cost for the work because we have not done any work here. So that's really our engineer taking the whole area and putting a rough number to it because we got, just something in the ballpark. It was a component of when we were also looking at a possible bus garage expansion. And so we pulled that out because we know that's not part of the scope. So that's all that is, and it needs to be refined. It's just showing that we believe you can do it within the budget that you guys have. It's just gonna be tight, so that's why this process is
Understood,
important.
so 2.25 is the amount of the reserve,
There's 3.2 in the reserve,
in
so
the
this will
reserve, so
leave,
even so, it's leaving money behind.
it will leave $1 million back.
I mean, Ken would love for us to be less and has pushed us on that. We just don't know yet. We can't.
And I appreciate that.
Do we know the square footage basically of what
Oh,
the paving entails?
I don't have that off the top of my
I
head.
know that we will gain roughly between 8,000 and 10,000 additional square feet of
Okay.
open space.
Yeah, so I can follow up with
Which
that.
means a lot for buses that don't have to do K-turns.
Yeah, everything here.
The infamous
Yeah.
17-point turn.
There you go.
I just don't have that number off the top of my head.
Mr. Silver, when we paved in front of the Kent Elementary School for additional parking spaces, do we know the approximate square footage of that or how much that cost the district?
$50,000.
$50,000?
That came out of my budget line.
So that was a relatively small area,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
That included the blacktop, the item 4, and the labor. Granted, we did some of it in-house, but the other half was the contractor and everything.
Yeah, makes sense.
Any questions, Trustee Magliano?
No, not at the moment.
Trustee Wise?
I think I got them all out.
So obviously there's a big history to this project. I know some of the gentlemen and ladies in the room may know better than most. I mean, this goes back to failed votes on this site go back to 1956. Through the decades, there were many, many failed votes. So
Ken was 25.
I was waiting for some
Wow.
Ken joke.
I always get that.
So I know that there will be a lot of questions amongst community members, amongst the board, with exactly what this entails, the price of what this entails. I do still have some questions and concerns that align with Trustee Wise regarding the fee summary, specifically the board presentation, the cost estimate component, and also not really having a grasp yet on how exactly that 2.25 million would be divvied up with respect to this project. So I just want to be very careful with, and I know the superintendent and I have spoken about this, moving in a fashion that builds consensus and trust amongst the community, that we're not going to, as a former trustee used to say, to run this up the flagpole every which way possible so that the community has trust in the project. And right now, I do think that there are some unanswered questions. I don't know how you two gentlemen feel.
I would like to see this developed a little more.
Mhm.
And I do want to emphasize, I know I can be a pain in your ass, Ken, but every question I ask here is not aimed at pushing this project back. It's a recognizing the fact that after all the failed votes that Trustee Curzio was discussing, when we bring this before the public, even if it's a vote on a reserve allocation, these same questions are going to be asked. And I'd rather we understand them in advance because
So-
we're going to be asked them as
So
well.
there is a limit to what the architects can do before we sign their proposal to begin doing this.
I mean, your questions are gonna be answered when we do the conceptual plan. That's the point of doing the conceptual plan is to get it in a good place.
Completely
for the
understood,
vote.
and I'm not asking that all this work be done for free in advance of the larger project, but I do want to have a better understanding of the costs around the conceptual
So
plan. as we go there.
specifically, what does that consist of that you would like to know? so that Travis can try to
Yeah.
answer your questions or prepare answers.
So coming back to what we've mentioned already in the meeting, the board presentation, I really don't feel that should be a separate cost since it's, I would have considered that assumed it has been in
Wouldn't we
past
wanna-
projects.
Trustee Wise, wouldn't we want to know that later on as things develop and we see in the next couple of months? What would you want to, Travis said that if you didn't want it in the end, we didn't have to do it.
Oh, I
So
want
it's-
the presentation. I just don't think it should be a separate line item for $2,500.
I mean, it's a component of the 60, of our fee, because it's time we spend on the project.
So, and this is what I guess what it comes down to is I want you guys to get paid for your time. That's important. And I also want to recognize that this work is a precursor to a much larger project where I hope we will be working with you guys for many years to come. Hopefully not many years on this project, but you know what I mean.
Please.
But with that said, if the fee is $60,000, let's say that, when we say this is the itemized breakdown, and it somehow comes to that fee, back to that same number, I do want to understand what the levers are here.
Okay, I mean, if that's the line item that's holding us up, I mean, we can definitely work on that line item.
And yeah, past that,
But-
just understanding I mean, I guess we're used to seeing this in terms of we expect this many professionals to be spending this many hours and therefore this is the cost. This may be my consultant brain, and I understand that IT and architecture are different fields, but
Yeah,
that's certainly the type of accounting I've always had to provide.
for our proposals for this, we usually do not give a breakdown of hourly costs. I mean, we could, and it's gonna be,
It's gonna cost you.
no,
I mean, like I said, I'm not asking that per se.
we're gonna take those numbers and we're gonna put an hourly, we're gonna.
I guess what
Hourly
I'm saying is if 60,000 is the fee and that's just it,
Yeah,
say that. But if we say
Yeah.
this is the breakdown, we asked for more information on the 60,000, we got back these numbers, that sounds like, I do want to understand what the parts of this are, which we need right now, which we can do later at some point.
okay, I mean, when we give you this proposal, I mean, we are stating that is the fee for the work, like I said.
Yeah, and
We
I think
have a line in there
that's a
that we're
more,
willing to work with you
Right.
on the fee. So if you guys feel this fee is too high and you want us to come down off this number somewhere, and for example, the 2,500 for board presentations, I can go back and talk to my partners about that and we can
Yeah,
make that work.
that makes sense.
Um,
I'm not trying to nickel and dime the specific numbers here. I just want to make sure I understand what work is now versus what work is later. And because what comes later is much more of that is going to turn out to be aidable, for example.
Yeah, I mean, the work later is the full design process that includes schematic design, design development, and construction documents.
Understood. So
And CA support during construction administration. So that's the full fee, which there's no mystery to that fee because that is just based on the scale of, that we gave you as part of being the district architect. So depending on the cost of the project, it's a percentage of the cost of the construction.
Yep. Understood.
So you're probably, you're in, I think, our range of $1 to $3 million, and that's, I think we have it down as a 7.8% fee for the full design work.
Understood.
So,
So to Mr. Curzio's point, we have a plan going forward that includes the community. And I would just want to speak to that, and I'll speak to that outside as well, because it's part of my superintendent's report. So basically, tonight, I want to remind people that they've received a couple of invites to come Saturday to a open community forum where we will talk a little bit about this project. If people want, they can go on a site tour. Hopefully the weather cooperates. I will have heart-shaped chocolates for anyone who attends. That being said, the point of that forum is not just to educate or inform people, it's also to collect feedback. We know that not everyone can make that meeting. So if we need to propose a second date, I'm fine for that. But I also would like to create a video where there's a link in the video for people to use a form to give us feedback, guidance, comments, and so forth, so that we're considering everything here. I don't want to wind up in a place where something's voted down or people have misgivings about it. I also think that there's a delineation between this go-around and previous go-arounds, right? We are not buying a piece of land. We're not going against half of our community. We are saying that we have this site, we want to optimize the space that we have to make it safe, effective, and operationally sound.
Yeah,
That's
no,
what we're saying.
and I do want to say the transparency and the approach is, I'm much more comfortable with this time than the last time around. I guess there's a once bitten, twice shy effect. And we
100%,
found,
Jim.
because bear in mind that when this failed to move forward as a line item, it also sunk the budget with it that year or in the following year. And that is, so there's a fair amount of, or rather, when this was pushed through in a way that the taxpayers had concerns about, the next year, even the base budget did not.
And there's another side to that concern, which is this. From a lot of folks in our community, you know, they're concerned about when they go to other school districts, what they have there,
Yeah.
what we don't, the perception of what we don't. I think we have to continually try to move the needle to improve facilities and infrastructure here. And it's difficult. We're bound by lots of things, all right?
Yep.
And finances is one of them. And I don't want to waste a penny of money.
Yeah, and to be clear, I think the value proposition here is clear. I think the improvement in the efficiency of what we can do with transportation in terms of getting the buses on the road in inclement weather, in terms of day-to-day operations, in terms of what we can do for repairs and so on, all a win. I think this is a great project, and I do appreciate the work you guys are bringing into designing. I don't want to sound like
Nope.
hey, why are we paying you guys?
That's
But I
why
just
you're
do
here.
want to make sure we're bringing out as much transparency as we can around the process, we're getting the right price, so that when we go back to the public and say, I know last time was a mess, this is what we've done this time, so that it is
So
clean,
what I'm
open
hearing-
process.
All right, so am I hearing that you would like us to sharpen our pencils a bit?
Yep.
And get this back to you?
It really comes down to, that makes it easier for us to sell this to the public, knowing that we're putting a little, out here, where after, even if it means after we're doing more work that's aidable, and that it is not coming out of that reserve spend.
Trustee Magliano?
Well, I was just gonna say, in the name of transparency, we can say all the stuff that we want. Seeing the actual site and giving people the opportunity to come down there and see, I think that's where this truly starts. And I think that's where people who haven't had the chance to see this site will appreciate this conversation a lot more once they put their boots on the ground over there. And walking around's worth 1,000 words.
I mean, you're
I
right.
do
And
think,
2.2 million.
here, I think you'll get a vote from every single parent who has ever had to park at the transportation office to pick up a violin or a backpack or a coat left on the bus, so,
Earbuds.
yeah, more so.
You're
Every
right,
time.
infrastructure projects are never like sexy items, it's not a new library, it's not a new addition, and they're tough, but that's what you need to function as a school. When we
Yep.
hear that you guys have, you guys are delayed for opening because of ice issues on the dirt, well, that's a problem for the community, but no, you're right, people don't realize that as a benefit to them saying, we're gonna spend $2 million on pavement, right? Yeah, I understand.
So a couple questions I have. You spoke earlier about wetlands.
Mhm.
So I know our previous architects provided a report to the board regarding wetlands, a delineation of wetlands
So
relative to
I
that
sent you
property.
this, you may not have seen the emails I sent you this afternoon. It was for the fields.
I did, but there was also a report specific to that property
I was not able to find that.
they submitted.
I was not able to locate
I know
that.
what you're talking about, and I did look at the map, it's still very close.
Yeah.
I can't remember what year it was though, sorry,
2020.
but I remember that was the sticking point.
That would have to be done again because of the changing in the space, the addition of space. But I'm not aware of anything. I looked.
If you guys have
everywhere to
existing
find
material, yeah, send it to us and our engineers will definitely take a look.
So that was from December of 2022. Basically, this is just a short memo that they submitted to the board, but They said that there were no, speaking about the transportation facility, no wetlands within the area reviewed. Due to this discovery, USACE, NYCDEC, or town wetland regulations have no jurisdiction. Based on the site review and upland data points taken on site, it can be concluded that there are no wetlands present within the study area. The reviewed area lacked the appropriate hydric soils, vegetation, and hydrology. Soils within the review area consisted of bright yellowish brown silt loams with no hydric indicators. Vegetation across the site consisted of primarily upland and successional species, including white oak, sugar maple, honeysuckle, multiflora rose, and common raspberry. No hydrology was observed on the study area.
Do we know who that was provided to? Because it didn't go to Mark, and of course, that's way before me.
Mr. Venezia?
Alberta.
Alberto.
Oh.
Yeah, I'd never seen that, so I
You
don't
can
know
forward it
if
to
we
us.
can access his.
So do you have that, or you just know?
I just have
of
the
it?
memo.
Okay,
which
so
is-
we'll
it
try.
was
I
a-
didn't know that even existed. I thought it was just the field stuff. Okay.
This is
so we'll-
Labella.
Yes.
I mean, you should be able to reach out to Labella and get a copy of the report.
Hopefully.
Okay.
Because I don't want to be duplicating work.
Of course not. Yeah, of course not.
Because I know that was actually a question by the board that we had asked
Yeah.
our former architects to complete, and
Sure.
we
And that can
received.
save quite a few jumping through hoops.
Yes, yeah.
That'd be great.
If it saves us a chunk of the SWPP, that certainly
Sure.
makes me less worried about the presentation.
So I think trustee Wise covered a lot of questions and concerns I had regarding the fee schedule. So I think that was very well articulated, so I won't add, I don't have anything to add to that. As far as to pick up on an item that trustee Magliano mentioned, I do think it's important, and we mentioned before, that as a committee, that we should tour this site in order to make a recommendation to the full board. And then the matter of the Transportation Advisory Committee, the Budget Advisory Committee. So
Oh, gosh.
Let's make sure that's unlocked.
when these were first proposed, you know, it was brought to the board, how does the district want this to be presented to the advisory committee? And the committee and the board said at the time that it has to be neutral and that nothing is being presented to the committee as this is the plan,
It's not moving.
up or down, exactly.
Not
So-
only that, but we want it to be where there's, input from the community, where people can ask whatever questions they want, and we would be able to somewhat adjust. But, like anything else, there's always, the plan is the plan, right? I mean, that is what the scope of the work that we're trying to do here. I'm more than happy to bear everything to the community. There should be no secrets, nothing held back. That's what's in our, I would say, in our favor, as well as what we have to give.
Mhm.
There's no above and beyonds really here. This is kind of bare minimum to try to make it work, so that, not extras. Sprinkled in.
So my only point with that, to have an advisory
This
committee,
is the attachment.
usually the advisory committee drives the discussion. So then what would be the platform within the committee to offer different opinions on proposals or what they think should be plans of action?
Well, I think the first thing would be for us to get them the information and give them a general overview of this project.
Mhm.
And then see what directions develop out of that.
Mhm.
I mean, it would be really a bad situation if we just went to a committee with no plans and said, so what do you guys think? I think we have a plan that we could say, here's the bones of this. What do you think? What needs to change? What considerations would you like us to make? And I think we go from there. But I also think that, look, this is different than other projects in that we're not building a library, right? So if we had a plan to build a library in, let's say, the middle school like we did years ago, there would be a lot more input that could be given in terms of what goes into the library, what furniture, how are the configurations of the smaller classrooms in that. I think this is more straightforward
Mhm.
because of the purpose and the utility that we're trying to get out of this project, which is what's the purpose of it? To make things safer, to make things operate more efficiently,
Mhm.
and to create a space that can expedite ingress and egress out of this area.
Mhm.
With
And to
those-
save money
Right, and save money in the
from
long
that,
run,
from
right.
maintenance on buses that are deteriorating.
Correct. So that's all in, the grand scope of things, but I do think there's room, to listen, imagine, and what's the last word?
Build,
Build,
actually
yes.
build it and not just talk about it, right?
Also, just
Well, listen, I really think also that this is an opportunity to show our community that the lights have changed, that we're not gonna do a project without them knowing about it. We're not gonna go forward with a project without getting considerable input. This one, obviously due to the nature of it, it's outdoors, has certain things where the committee, the community and the committee can contribute. But in latter projects, there's gonna be more opportunities to do that using this same format, which is getting precursory information out, ideas, collecting data and getting people to kind of interact with one another and ourselves, and then laying that out to say, this is a reflection of community voice and needs. So I think that's what's really important to me here. Yeah, Mom?
Just to put one other thing out there, it's also a big safety issue. We have drivers and monitors that fall every day on the dirt that's covered in ice that we cannot treat. And when that melts and everything turns to mud, the buses feel it, and the monitors and drivers have to walk through the mud to get onto a bus. So there's a big safety feature also.
No, I strongly agree with that, and I think that's something we've been trying to solve for a long time. When you see us dig into this like this, it's to make sure this passes, so that we actually get this rather than being back.
It's
at the drawing
blacktop
board.
is what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Item 4 in blacktop is
Yeah.
the bulk of the project.
Yep.
So, like you said, it's been going on since the 50s. I got 3 sets of blueprints for this place since then.
Mhm.
We need to do something,
Yep,
not
that's-
just for the buses, but for our employees also.
100% agree. Let's get it done, and then that means finding the way to read the public into this in a way that their concerns are met, and we can get the vote.
Well, and to Trustee Wise's point and to Mr. Earl's point, talking about even just paving it goes back to at least 2016, 2017. I was on the board then, and I supported that as an alternative to what the board tried to push through, and was ultimately defeated twice at the ballot box in back-to-back years. Just to go back, to circle back as far as to the price tag though. So as this progresses, the questions that the community is going to be asking is honing in on the $2.25 million price tag for, Mr. Earl, as you said, the bulk of it is paving.
Yeah.
So it's a big price tag for that. So I would like to see a little more meat on the bones with how that is divvied up and how we can explain that. Because, we're of course accountable to our constituents and the voters. So it's difficult for us to greenlight something first and then without being able to explain it to our bosses.
No, I don't think you shouldn't be explaining it until we complete the conceptual design and get you a better estimate.
And with
is-
that, Travis, you'll
whole-
have,
You'll have a line item.
right, line items of
Yes.
what each thing would cost and so forth and so
More
on.
honed in. Listen, we know that we have to work within a certain budget, and if then it gets approved and we move ahead with design, after each phase, we produce another estimate that's more detailed to make sure we are still on target and within the budget.
Mhm.
So that gets refined too, as the drawings get refined and as the engineering gets refined and we get more information on the project. Right now, again, this is just, just putting out a square foot cost
Yep.
number.
And
That's
you
just,
can also say, blacktop now is $2 a ton. By the time we started, it could be $3.54. We don't know.
Mhm.
So,
and there's, regardless of the wetland boundaries, you still have to manage the stormwater when you're repaving. So yes, you might get a price from a contractor to just come in here and pave it, but that's not technically allowed. You have to treat the water, you have to manage the water. When you're repaving or expanding this amount of area, which, yeah, I get it, it's frustrating that you can't just go in and pave it, but That's what's required.
Mhm.
And, you know, I think, right, Mark, you don't have a great base here to begin with, so it's not just going over it with new pavement. You are ripping this thing up
Yeah.
and putting down a new base layers for all of this.
And those are all points very well taken and received. I'm just going to, as far as if we're gonna green light, you know, a fee for 60,000, which is what would be on our next course of action, we have to somewhat be able to explain to our community how this 2.25 million is going to be spent. So,
Blacktop, fencing.
I would think.
Yeah, I mean,
That's your key.
I can't really give you a deep,
Filling
a
of that line.
further breakdown of that until we go in and do the work.
yeah, I mean, so that's
So it's
a
just,
little bit of the catch-all here, because then it puts us in a little uncomfortable
All right,
position.
but let's think about that. I think I can germinate some ideas about.
I like that.
If you also look at it, you're gonna start from Farmers Mills and rip up all the existing blacktop.
Mhm.
So you have your hills going down.
Yeah.
That's all gonna be graded down. So there's a lot of prep work. There's a lot of
Yeah,
money involved there.
Yep.
Then the site work itself is a lot of money, so.
I think the filling in of that land to create that 8,000 additional square foot, that is going to be a big thing with the fill that has to go in.
there
to
is,
do that.
like, all these things that you're mentioning, you know, there's time involved
Mhm.
to put those things together and refine the estimate. So it is not uncommon, you know, for districts to perform this conceptual pre-referendum study. That is the point of the study, is to refine that number and give you a number that you're comfortable with before releasing additional work on the project.
And like I said, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
We're not trying to beat up on
Okay.
you. We don't want you to come away with that, but I've been on the board long enough to see why these votes have failed.
Yeah.
And I've done
Yeah.
a lot of
Don't want
research
that.
back to 1956 and have researched all these prior votes and have seen why they failed. And I can anticipate the questions, what those questions will be from our community.
Fantastic.
And that's why I just say that.
We should know what those questions
Yep.
are.
So, and that's why I know that there will be some apprehension and some discomfort with approving or greenlighting $60,000
Okay.
if we can't adequately explain how this is going to be spent. And
Okay.
again, I completely get what you're saying, but I think that in order for us to be comfortable, we need a little more on that 2.25 million to be able to greenlight this, to move forward to the voters. Of course, I think, but we also, as a committee, have consistently been advocating and recommending the 0% tax levy this year, which will help extraordinary with not only helping to ease the squeeze that our taxpayers are feeling, but help to support any such
Ken knows
project.
what I'm gonna say. 0 cents high to me.
I think it's also important to hone in on the fact that this is a capital reserve with money that's been put aside over the years for projects. Obviously, everything you said earlier this evening, Trustee Wise, are points very well taken and true. But it is also very different from the bonds of a decade ago that saw $80 million tax and spend increases. on the
I
budget.
100% agree that this is a good use of the reserve.
Mhm.
I just want to emphasize, and this is,
Oh, and I agree.
Ken, I know you weren't here for some of the past arguments with the public, from the public about this, but the word tax neutral has been used many times in this district to describe things that were not strictly tax neutral, either because they were reallocation of fungible money that would then have to be replaced, or the exempt where it was taking on new debt, but treated as tax neutral because some other debt was falling off the end of the calendar.
Or the estimates were just
Right.
wrong, like some of these previous versions of a much grander project when they went to 100% over budget.
Right. So I have great confidence that we're approaching this in a way that will prevent that type of thing from happening.
Mhm.
But we have to understand that when we're using the same words the public has heard so many times and voted no on so many times, we have to find a way to be much clearer about what that means.
Okay.
Thank you.
So at our next meeting, well, we also have to go out, I think, as I said, and actually view it as a committee, so we can make a recommendation as well. So that's something that,
There is a tour set for the 14th already
Mhm.
outside. I didn't know if you wanted to join and hear some feedback.
I just don't want to conflate the two from a advisory committee and also a board committee, because I don't want to influence them one way or the other. So that's why I think it's important that we also do it separately. Nothing wrong with us joining in on that tour, but I just don't want to
I get it.
have any influence on them one way or the other.
No, but even as neutral parties, it is a good chance
Oh,
to
yeah.
hear community feedback
Mhm.
in the moment as they view exactly and know. And then, like I said, a lot of people aren't gonna know exactly what we are, the whole scope, until you're there. You're
Mhm.
looking around. You're feeling
And
like-
again, for people who can't be there, and there will be, right? I think having the video with the voiceover and also allowing people to submit questions and us gauging their excitement for this or lack thereof is also important. No, it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
This is the most transparent we can bring it forward, and I
I
think this is the proper avenue, and I appreciate you coming with your explanation.
You should take them out during an icing event. Even better.
The liability
We may-
tax might be not ideal. Given mindful time, there is one thing I wanted to make sure we cover
Yeah.
before we close. Currently, the next meeting is scheduled for the 24th.
Mhm.
We talked about taking the ones that overlap with other committee meetings, moving that out of band of the main meeting schedule. Is there any chance we could move that to an alternate date and then pick up with the board meeting the following when there's no conflict?
We can send out a doodle or whatnot. I'm gonna have conflict on most other Tuesdays due to another.
It doesn't have to be a Tuesday,
But we
whatever is
can,
convenient for.
yeah, we can send out some sort of survey or amongst the three of us and see.
You didn't like my last survey with the music and everything? In case anybody's wondering, Wednesdays are swell for me.
Whatever works for you guys, in the hour before the board meeting, next time I'll be in the other committee that I chair.
Okay.
So it would be wonderful to be able to.
I do think it's important the next time we do meet to have a representative or more or multiple from the advisory committee come to our committee to present to us what their findings and recommendations. And then obviously we have to, as I said, I think it's important that we tour it. And then we'll have some questions answered in the meantime, from wetland delineation to the fee schedule to trying to get a little more meat on the bones about what the 2.25 million entails. Anything else that?
I think that's what, I think that
That's
covers it.
And thank you for bringing up all that wetland information. That was very helpful, and it may be helpful going forward.
Hopefully. Any comments from the public on?
I might have a few little things.
Mhm.
That's all right. Were numerous bids received, please,
It's for what?
for the project?
We're not at the stage yet.
We're
So
about,
you're before that. when
we're
you-
maybe a year away from doing
Okay,
this.
so then I have a question. Timeframe wise, realistically, you said that you're gonna start and pay that 60,000 before the vote.
It has to be done before the vote.
Okay,
The time frame of doing the work would probably be the summer of '27.
27. And is there a reason why it has to be done before the vote?
The vote would take place, whenever the vote would have to take place in May.
Yes.
And then they would begin their work. It would go to the state. And it can't be done during the school year. It has to be done when we can move the buses somewhere else and do this work all at one time.
So
But-
let's say we pay it before the vote, which would have to be paid, we would start in 2027 of the summer.
Mhm.
Is there any possible way that you can push that payment until after the vote,
No,
timeframe wise?
there has to be an agreement for them to do the work before the vote.
So in
the-
order for us to
Yeah.
be vote ready, we have to do number of studies,
Okay,
surveys,
Right.
and so forth.
so that 60,000 has to be.
But the good news is if it's approved by the voter, that lump sum can then be lumped into the overall aidable
Okay.
price. Yeah.
Okay. I just think that when you put that forth to the public, make sure that you say that it has to be,
Mhm.
you know, it has to be done in order to do this during the summer, where it won't affect the children that are in school, just as like a public kind of person. Because I didn't understand that fully, but now I do and I get it.
Okay.
You did say you'll be doing okay, I did that already, before the public vote, reasoning. So I wanted to just put 2 points in there before you do all this. Extended school year summer was at KPS, so if you're not doing it until 2027, the building that will house ESY is CAS, according to the
Right,
time.
so
So
we
those
should-
MPS is this year, CAS would be following. So I don't know if you wanna switch that, because there's also work that needs to be
That's a
done
good
in the
point.
summer that affects those kids, so that's first. Secondly, if it is done during, I don't know how long it'll take from 2027 to whenever, at CAS, in that wing of the building where the work will be done, houses all of special education. So if you can possibly pre-plan ahead to move them on the other side of the building, because you have a lot of sound sensory children on that side of the building.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sounds like a lot, but it's very minor. It is very minor.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot, but it's very
No,
minor
no.
to deal with all that.
So I think we have, we received a lot of good information. We have still a lot of questions remaining. I don't think we're ready to make a recommendation by, or a vote by the next meeting, but we are moving forward. Hopefully we'll have by the next meeting answers to all those questions that will be able to make us comfortable enough to proceed. Anything that the superintendent would like to add, or?
No, I think we'll also have, the experience of being with community members this Saturday that will further inform us, and I think that's good. And we can talk about how we process that information.
Excellent. Mr. Silver?
What's that?
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you very much for
Thank you,
your
guys.
time.
Thank you all.
Nice to meet you. Good to meet you again.
Sure.
I am gonna hold the,
Nice to meet you.
thank you very much. I am gonna hold the committee just for